Welcome back, friends and colleagues. I've had this idea for a long time. I believe that RPG battle systems are one of the most underexplored genres GB Studio can make. If you have a look at all the GB Studio games that's ever been made, I reckon 90% of them are either platformers or top-down adventure games, and I want to change that. And the first step towards that is this RPG battle template that I'm working on. It's inspired by series like Pokemon and Final Fantasy, where we have a party of characters that fight against a party of enemies, where there are varied character types, attack types, stat boosts and debuffs. I want to make a system that's interesting for the player, and I want to help you make similar games too. I feel like I'm in a unique position right now where I'm working on a few games at once, and one of them is coming to the end, and so there is space for me to start a new one. But I believe that because I haven't made an RPG battle system before properly, that I need time to experiment. And I'm going to share my experiment with you so that you can learn along with me. So to get access to these project files, please support me on Patreon. And as I make and change it and update it, I will make a video like this about it. And also you can message me any queries you have about similar systems in your own game. My game Take It Racing 2 is very similar to this idea where we have stats and every section of the track is like an enemy that we have to match our stats to beat. But it's not how I really imagined. But I've put in the work to really think through what is needed for this. And using all of my years of experience in GB Studio, I think I'm onto something. And right now, and I'll show you, it's a 1v1 battle system where we have one player and one enemy at a time. And the goal is to have a 3v3. So let's show you what I've got so far. And a quick reminder for those who don't know what GB Studio is, it's a drag and drop game engine that lets you make Game Boy games, export ROMs that you can play in emulator, and it's incredibly simple to get started if you're a beginner in game dev, or if you want to make a Game Boy game, Game Boy Color as well. So this is what I've got right now. You can only control one character, like I said, and I wanted to have 3, and we have 5 characters to choose from to begin, and they're like archetypes. So we have the Knight, we have the Rogue, we have the Paladin, the Cleric, and the Archer. And if you have a look, they have a basic attack, a heavy attack, a special attack, and then an ultimate attack. So this one's special is Arrow Fall, and the ultimate attack is Arrow Rain. And the idea is that the ultimate has a cooldown, and the ability has the capacity in the code to do burn damage, curse, and also heal. So the idea is that basic and heavy don't do those extra things, but the ability and the ultimate can. I'm trying to keep it somewhat simple. The amount of effort I had to think through the game of what I would want, and I have a spreadsheet as well that goes along with this that kind of outlines all the stats. So if we go with the Cleric, because they can heal, and let's choose this one. So the first member is set to Cleric. So we choose our enemy. We imagine here that we will have 3 characters, and you would be the next one whose turn it is would be the one you're choosing for, and then you can choose between the 3 enemies. And currently there's only 1. This is imagining if you've killed the other 2, right? Then we can only choose the Cryptid, and this is their stats here. So they got basic attack of 3 damage, special attack of 9, and defense, accuracy, dodge. And their dodge is quite low, which is good. You've chosen which enemy you want to attack. The next scene, you pick your attacks. So now we have here our screen where we're choosing our attacks, and the EP means energy points. HP is our health points. And each time you go across, it updates the stats to match what you're hovering over. And I want to clean all this up, obviously. Imagine this is programmer art, right? This is step 1 to making an RPG battle system, and so I've had to almost brute force things and figure out what can and can't work. So to keep it simple, I've got 4 attacks: basic, heavy, the ability, which is Inner Light, and the ultimate, which is Divine Light. So the ability Inner Light heals. We don't need to heal right now. We can our cooldown on the ultimate is still 5, so we have to wait. So we could just do our basic attack 5 times, for example. Actually, we have more energy points for that. We have 7 energy points left, so we can maybe do some heavy attacks. However, they have armor, so it will reduce the amount of damage being done. And the idea of this is when I give you guys the files, you can edit it however you like. I'll go through the code with you a bit later so that you can grasp a bit more of what's happening if you do want it. Or you could recreate it yourself if you're inspired by this. But as I update the project and go through and make changes and make it work better for free characters versus free enemies, I will add in comments to make sure we know what we're doing, what we're looking at. But for right now, it's all open to change because I need to work out and work through the systems. But let's just keep doing our heavy attack. Not enough energy. Let's use our basic. We missed. So they have 5 health left. We have 8. And if we press start, it will go to the enemy's turn. It will finish our turn. When we defeat the enemy, it goes up a level. They have more stats, and it changes which enemy it is. There's only 3 types right now. And I have a lot more ideas for what I want it to be as well. But I'm just going to play this for a bit with you and get a grasp of it. So we have 8 energy points. We have 7 health. Let's try and get all our health back. We missed, so it didn't work. We missed again, and we only have 2 energy points left. But we hit. That's good. They're down to 4 health. We ran out of energy points, so let's continue. Now it's their attack. They hit us. We lost some more health. And let's choose the cryptid. And let's try and heal again. We missed. Let's try again. We hit. So we healed because we're using the inner light thing. It needs a description there, which I haven't added in yet. But it will say, obviously, heal self to full or however much it heals by. And then let's do some heavy attack. And we missed. But they have 1 health point left. So let's hope they miss us. They hit. Down to 7 health again, but that's fine. Let's try and see if we can heal again. And we missed. We missed. Let's use our basic attack, see if we can get a hit on it. Bingo. We defeated the enemy, and it goes back to the same scene it did at the beginning, but now it says level 1 at the top, and we have a zombie against us now. So they're a dodge of 2, that's good, but their accuracy is very high, which means they're probably going to hit us a lot. Let's see if we can defeat them as quickly as we can. Let's try basic attack. Right now, I realize that their defense is also quite high. So I've coded in the idea that even if you hit and their defense eliminates your damage, you will always do 1 damage if you hit, which I feel is a nice middle ground. In reality, I'll talk about it now, I guess, that every time we go through a few battles, let's say every 2 or 3, you'll get given a choice to upgrade. This would be like a roguelike where when you die, you go all the way back to the start, but along the path, along the way, you will get options to make it easier to progress further. And it will be random choices of what stats you want to increase for which characters, and maybe even which abilities you can choose and change. For example, there's a character that removes the enemy's dodge. And what I'd want to do is have different abilities from different characters do different things to different stats on the enemies. That's my dream for this. The thing that's standing in the way right now is the complexity of the coding and how much time it takes. I believe I can do it. I've already done it for a few characters and a few abilities, but I want to be able to upgrade and change abilities throughout the game as we go through these levels. I'm going to show you around the project how this is coded and like what it looks like in the project, so you can get a good idea of what you might want to copy or be inspired by. Or if you wanted to get it, remember you can support me on Patreon. I've put the project files up there before I put this video live. As well, it has a spreadsheet with it to kind of like have an idea of what stats are being used, right? And you have to manually change them, right? You can't update the spreadsheet and then it automatically update in the game. But yeah, that was the experience. A note on it is that it feels very addictive. Like this feels like an addictive game. The idea that we can just spam attacks over and over again, and also a note that I would want for the future is that it would be animated, like they would look like they're casting a spell or whatever, and like be animated and do something on screen. And the same with the enemy. They'd like trying to attack the player as well visually, so that it has feedback to the player, and obviously sound effects, stuff like that. That's my goal with this, and I hope that I can get it all done by June the 1st. That's my mission, and I need to like plan out what I need each week, and I will make that available as well when I do it. So yeah, let's have a look in the project. So here we are. We have the opening scene here, which says welcome, and it sets all the variables back to false. Also, when you're playing, if you press select, it will automatically bring you back to the very start. So this is basically resetting everything, fresh start when if you're in a loop of combat or something that gets stuck, like you're not going to win, then you can press a button and teleport all the way back there. And then we have our 5 character screens, and each of them has a little sprite. And when we select one, when we first of all, when we load in, it sets, I've manually typed in all the values that I put in the spreadsheet, and they set all of the like temporary character select variables to the ones from the spreadsheet. And then I should be using these to display on here. So that would be step 1 in making this better is, for example, typing in character select here, character select defense. But I need to rename the variables so they're easier to type in on this. Yeah, so it sets the variables, it draws them on the background so that each of them can be updated by us at any time, depending on when we balance it. We don't need to re-export any backgrounds. And then it has the character select. So when you press A or start, it sets character 1 or whichever character is next in the list. If it's already set character 1, it will set character 2, for example, to the stats that we set in the character select bit up here. And then it will tell you that they've been added to your party. That's what this does. And then right now for testing, it's just after you've set the first one, it brings you to the start of the game or of the gameplay loop. And each of these is unique to the character, where it's setting the name and everything. But then the start of the battle, we are setting the character stats. So the way I've set it up, and you'll see this in the spreadsheet, where I've got all of the information on the characters, I also have the character stats. And I was using this here to help me out. And basically what I have is current stats and base stats. So you can imagine at the very beginning, we're setting all the base stats. And then at the start of each fight, we're setting the current stats to the base stats, because in each battle, we can affect each character's current stats with effects that can be like really good or really bad. The enemies can do bad things to you, and your team members can do really good things to you. But after that fight, I want them to go back to the base stats, except for the health. Maybe that might be the only thing. You might want, for example, how many burn stacks they've got on them to stay there as well, depending on, what we're thinking with the design. But we have current stats and base stats. And that's for almost every single thing in the game. So we've got health, defense, energy, dodge, accuracy, and then each attack's current and max damage, and also each attack's energy, base cost and current cost. So we could have an ability that affects how much energy some attacks do. And then here as well, you can see where I've got the space for the affects and effects. So your characters can be affected by things, and also their attacks can affect the enemies. And I'll do my best to clean this up so it's easier to follow. But remember, I'm hoping as well, this is like a teaching moment where it's like, you can see it in development, and you understand that some things don't need to be perfect all the time, because we're working through it and we're learning as we go, and we are making design choices that will impact how it moves forward, right? We don't have every question answered at the very beginning. You should try and answer as many questions as you can, but some and most questions will need to be answered by trying things out, prototyping, experimenting. So I'm hoping this is helpful. You can think about this as the setup of the stats for the battle. The next one is actually choosing the enemy, where it uses those stats to display the enemy stats that you'll be choosing. And then once you choose them, it takes you to the attack. The screen draws the stats, and I've got a custom script up here for all of the player one stats that draws the correct names and all of the basic stats like the accuracy and defense at the bottom there. But then when you hover over each of these, or actually when you're inside each of these triggers, it draws it based on the attack. And these attacks, the basic and the heavy attack, are very simple. They both firstly display all the stats, so they say what the attack is and it has the name. And then if we scroll down to what happens when the player presses the accept button, it checks to see if your current energy, if the player's energy is greater than or equal to the amount of energy that it takes to do this attack. And then it subtracts that energy, or if it's true, right, if you have enough energy, it subtracts that much energy from your current energy, and then it plays out the heavy attack or the basic attack. And this will be the same for the ability and the ultimate, but the ultimate also has a cooldown. So once it has the attack, it has a hit chance. So it randomly rolls the dice using your accuracy and then compares it to the enemy's dodge. And if your accuracy is higher than the dodge, then you'll hit. And if not, then you miss. And if you hit, it then calculates how much damage you will hit. So it does the heavy damage, for example, this is one we clicked on right now, minus the enemy's defense. And if that's less than or equal to 0, then it will actually display, it will actually give 1 damage. I've got here max. So out of the 2, it will do the 1 if it's too low. So you always do 1 damage, which I think is a good middle ground. That's like almost like a design choice I had to make when I realized that this was going to be what would happen. And then, so it says it also displays that the player hit the enemy. And then if the enemy doesn't have enough health anymore, they're defeated. We go up a level and we go back to that set stats scene. Otherwise, we continue. And afterwards, it redraws all of the information because when text pops up, it overwrites the last stuff that was drawn. So I have to rewrite it. And with the ability, each ability is different and they have a type. And also the ultimate is the same as this. So for example here, it's checking if the ability that the character has is 17, which is the knife burst ability, then it will do, as you see here, 3 separate attacks. And if it's not, then it will do a normal attack and then to go and check to see which attack it is. So the inner light one, it adds health if they hit, and the petrifying shout removes the enemy's dodge. And we can add as many as we can imagine, I hope. There will be a limit on how many we can have in a scene at once. But in that case, I would, in the future, extend these into 4 different scenes, 1 for each of the attacks, which will add complications, but also might simplify things. So that's where I am right now with this RPG battle project. My dream is to have 3v3 and have multiple abilities that the player can choose from. And after each few fights, they'll get a choice of which ability, like if they can change abilities and stat increases. I'll also work on a way of getting boss fights in. For example, every 10th fight will be a boss fight and that will be like a larger sprite. That's the plan. I also want it to be that once the player is defeated, they have earned points. Imagine how many levels they've gone up to then invest in the starting stats of the characters. It will take time and effort, and I won't be able to do this every single week, but I'm hoping, within time, this will be a great template that I can share with you for learning purposes or to make your own games with. And I intend to make a full game with it after the fact as well. And right now it's very generic. It's just using, archer, cleric, knight, basic things, 5 characters. There's always space for you guys to add whatever characters you want. You could even make it so the player creates their own character if you really wanted to, or random characters are generated like it's an actual roguelike. It's purely up to you. You can think of how you want to do this yourself, edit the files, and they'll be on Patreon if you support me there. There is a specific tier it will be under. It won't be the basic just support a role. It will be a higher up one. But I hope I've shown you here how you can make a similar one yourself. If you are to, here's a tip. I recommend thinking through the stats your characters will need and how many characters you want to have, and then thinking and remembering that GB Studio, or if you're not going to use GB Studio, don't worry about this, but there's a maximum amount of variables you can use, 512, I believe. So you don't want to use them all up. You don't want to be stuck where you need more variables, right? It might not even be a problem you even realize could happen. I believe I'm using like 300 or something right now, just in this, with all the stats, that I showed you of all the players, each free characters you have, and each free enemies. That's about 300 variables right now, and I brought it down. It was higher, but I believe that this will be in the right wheelhouse to be doable. So if you found this interesting, let me know what you might want to see from this project. And if you're working on anything similar, remember to support me on Patreon, and I'll put my patrons up on screen right now. Please also consider becoming a member here on YouTube if you just want to support me. Patrons and members get certain videos a week early. I also make a couple of update videos every month talking about, what I'm up to. And you would have seen that I was making something like this last week. And remember, on Patreon as well, you can message me. And if you go to the face-to-face tier, we can have one-on-one calls where I can walk you through certain things you might want to see or help with your game that you're working on. So remember to like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, let me know what you want to see in the next one, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.